Hello everybody, Shaderade here with another video for you. Today I'm going to be covering as many of the random problem issues, possible solutions, and anything else I can go over for you based on all the different stuff that I've been encountering and other videos that I've been watching and stuff like that. So anyone with a Ryzen 5 2400G or a Ryzen 3 2200G that's having random issues, BSODs, blue screens, video TDR failures, green screens, black screens, crashes, all that kind of good stuff. I'm here to try and cover as many of them as I can. So let's get started with the BIOS ones that I know of and the word on the street. So let's get started on what exactly I have everything set out on mine real quick. Right now we're in easy mode. So let's pull this closer so you guys can actually see. I think I can get it set to where you can actually read it this time. I know my last videos have not been great. I switched my screen into darkroom mode, so hopefully you guys can actually read it this time. It looks like you can. So here's looking at you, kid. Alright, so I have everything set. Let's go to advanced mode. Go to overclock. And blah de blah. Now I have my core set at 4 gigahertz on all cores. I have my GFX, my GPU cores set at 1620 megahertz. I've dropped it down from 1700 back down to 1770, which is where I thought I had it stable at. That was not the case, just because you can run benchmarks apparently, and just like Cinebench and Unigine and even 3D Mark and all that stuff. I was running those at 1660, 1700 megahertz with 1.2750 and 1.2875 as well, I believe it was. I was getting through all those benchmarks pretty much just fine and stuff like that, you know, when I first put everything in there and first started it up. But had a lot of issues with like Counter-Strike and StarCraft 2 and stuff like that, and certain cryptocurrency miners that I was trying to load up were giving me video TDR failures constantly. Counter-Strike was really killing me because it let me play about 3 rounds, you know, in a match, and then video TDR failure religiously, almost every single time. And I could not for the life of me figure out why. Looked up a bunch of different issues online. A lot of the issues will tell you that your drivers are installed correctly or a driver file is installed correctly. That is absolutely possible. I'll go over that next. But as well, if you have your overclock pushed too far, you can get that same kind of issue kind of popping up. Because I had my RAM cranked up to 3266, and it was giving me video TDR failures on certain things too, where I wasn't getting them without it at 3266 before. But with 3266, I could get through Cinebench, I could get through the Unigine benchmarks most of the time with no issues. So everything looks like it was running stable, and I thought I had everything dialed in, but it wasn't, until you actually go and play the games you want to play, and they're just not working. So I've dialed my benchmarks, or I've dialed my overclocking back. I do have my core voltage at 1.2750, if you can't read that right now. That's very high for, like I said, the, what's it called, stock cooler that comes with this, the AMD Wraith Stealth. Yeah, Wraith Stealth, I believe it is, that comes with this. Do not try to go to the same settings that I have on the stock cooler. I have the $50 Cooler Master all-in-one 120 millimeter, you know, radiator liquid cooler, and it's nothing crazy, you know, but it's RGB and it looks nice, but it gives you way better performance than what that stock cooler is that comes with it. So like I said, I've just been trying to push it as high as I can, and as much as I want to keep trying to push it, I just want to play my games and I want them to stop crashing on me. So 4 gigahertz all cores, 1620 megahertz on the GFX cores, 1.2750 volts on the GFX cores, and then 1.350 volts on my CPU cores. The RAM have it set at 3200. It was the Profile 2 auto set in there, so it did the timings for me. And I do have the DDR RAM voltage set at auto, so it's just kind of doing its own thing. I know I probably should try and dial that in, but it's doing fine right now where it is. And that might have been another issue too on why it was crashing before, because I never tried to dial in the DDR RAM or the DRAM voltage, just because I don't want to hurt my RAM sticks. So that's all my settings so far right now. Everything else, I didn't really fuck with anything else. Those are the 4 settings that really matter for the most part. Your CPU speed, your CPU voltage, your GFX speed, your GFX voltage, and then, of course, your RAM. So that's really the only things I've tinkered with. Also, in the past, too, if you go into Advanced and you go into your integrated graphics configuration, this is where your buffer size is to increase pretty much the amount of VRAM that your graphics processor side has. I was running it on PEG because that's what my motherboard came stock as, when I first booted up and everything. And I ran everything fine, Cinebench, blah, blah, blah. It was all running fine on PEG. Never had any issues. And then again, until I started playing all my shit, having a bunch of issues. I looked into what it meant, and apparently like PEG is set for like when you have a standalone graphics card, like a 1060 or a RX 570 or whatever, and IGD is the integrated graphics display. So even though I didn't have it on integrated graphics display, it was using my integrated graphics, processor obviously, and doing fine for the most part. I was getting really good numbers on almost everything. But I've switched it over to IGD now, and everything seems to be stable. Just got done playing like 2.5 hours of Counter-Strike, and never had one crash, never had one issue. It stayed rock solid, at about 70 to 90 frames per second the whole time at 1080p high on everything. So I'm going to go back. I don't think there's anything else in here to really go over other than don't try to push your overclock too far, especially if you don't have adequate cooling. I am not using the game boost because I don't like that it turns off like the smart fan sense technology, even though it seems like my fans on average run more than they should, but then don't ever run at 100%. Like, it never seems to get up that hot. So I don't know, I've got to tinker with it more. But if you're having issues, dial your overclock back first and foremost, because if you're pushing it too freaking hard, the thing's going to crash. It's going to give you blue screens, it's going to give you freaking green screens, it's going to give you black screens, blah blah blah. And if you do push your RAM speed too far like I did, and you have, like I said, usually it'll just shut off, beep 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 beep, shut off, beep beep beep, shut off, beep beep beep, all that good stuff. If it does that, and then it doesn't ever turn back on, and everything just looks like it's dead, that means you need to clear the CMOS on the motherboard. So what you need to do is unplug the power supply, grab a little screwdriver, look it up in your motherboard manual where the CMOS clear prongs are. Some motherboards have like a little jumper thing that you don't need a, what's it called, a screwdriver for. You can just pull it off and move it over one peg, let it sit for a couple seconds, pull it off, and then put it back, and that'll jump them, that'll clear the CMOS. But most of us need like a screwdriver, so look it up in your motherboard, hold the screwdriver on there for about 5 seconds, with the power supply unplugged. Obviously, shut everything off before you unplug your power supply. And that will pretty much reset your motherboard back to default factory settings. It does save some memory, because if your motherboard has like a little battery on it, it does have its own little memory in there, so it did save like my overclocking profiles and stuff like that, which honestly I should save this one. So over here on the right, if you go to overclocking profile, I'm going to reset this one that I thought I had stable at 3266. I'm going to set name, I'm going to delete the 3266 and the 1670, and I think I'm sitting at 1620, I said, right? GFX, and 3200 megahertz. And hit enter. And then I'm going to save overclocking profile, save settings that I currently have as my overclocking profile too. Okay, and now we're going to go to save and exit, save changes and reboot. I didn't really make any changes, but I did save my settings. So first and foremost, do not try to push it too far. If you do not have adequate cooling, that will cause crashes and problems and errors and a whole bunch of other stuff, and it's not going to go. So once you've dialed your overclock back, like I said, first, when you get this thing installed, don't try to overclock it right out of the box. You need to go install drivers and update shit and all that kind of good stuff. So, blah, blah, blah. Once you go into Windows, let's say that this is, real quick, your first... Oh, did I cover voltages? I didn't cover voltages. I was making one video and it freaking stopped like halfway through, so I had to start over. Voltages on the GFX cores. That is one of the big issues that I saw apparently with Gamer Nexus was talking about. I had mine set at 1.2750, as you saw, for my GFX core voltages. Some motherboards are wildly different on what they're actually giving to your CPU on the backside, you know, actually into the port. Apparently MSI boards tested pretty consistent. What you typed in there is what it gave it. But like Asus and Gigabyte and stuff like that, they were giving way more voltage to your CPU than what you actually had set in there. So even though you're typing in a very specific number, it's giving more than what you're typing to your GFX cores by a lot. So you might need to try and dial back your voltages quite a little bit, even though if you're looking at somebody else's guide that's saying, oh, I used this speed and this voltage, your motherboard might be giving more voltage than what you're actually putting in there. So you might need to dial your voltage back, but at the same time, you might also need to increase your voltage by a little bit. So voltage is a tricky freaking thing. So when I've had issues, I just keep going up, and then I go up a little bit, and I go down a little bit, and I go up a little bit, and I go down a little bit, you know, from different points, from the same point, you know, on the same speed, until I figure out which way it is that I need to go until everything's stable. So voltages is probably going to be the #1 thing that's really screwing with everybody on here, especially based on what kind of cooling you have, you know. This thing gets hot quick, you know, on both. If you have both sides overclocked, it gets real hot real quick if you don't have adequate cooling. And it will thermal throttle itself, or it will just crash and shut everything off. So I don't know how to tell, you know, he was using like a little voltage tester and everything on the back of the motherboard, right where the chip goes in and everything. So it's not like something we can test ourselves for the most part. Most of us aren't that electronically capable to even know which chip to test. But you might want to go watch that video. I'm pretty sure it was Gamer Nexus. And certain boards are giving off a lot of juice. So try and mess with your voltages a little bit, up and down, blah, blah. So when you first put everything in, if you got a stock Ryzen 2400G in here, you need to go and update your drivers. So this is another place where I think I've had a lot of issues, and other people are going to have a bunch of issues. Drivers for this bad boy need to be done in a couple different ways. And if it doesn't work one way, try and do it in a different order or something of the sort, you know, because I thought I had everything stable again, blah, blah, I had a bunch of issues, need to reinstall stuff, had a bunch of crashes. So right when you get your computer open, I figured the best thing to do would be to go right to AMD's website and download like the graphics drivers for my chipset, or for my, you know, my motherboard or whatever. And apparently that's not the order to do things in. So you need to, I don't know what that was, Florida Senate revokes ban to your ban on Air 15 minutes after it passes. Jesus Christ. I live in Florida and I do own an Air 15. So I figured I would go to AMD's website, amd.com, and I would download their driver immediately, you know, and install it. That's not apparently the way to do it. 1 year anniversary, take a look at the exciting 2017 that began with Ryzen 7. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so you go to AMD, you go to drivers and support. This isn't the way to do it, though, apparently. I went to automatically detect and install, blah, blah, downloaded this, figured that'd be, you know, the way to go. Not the way to go. Doesn't even install like a compatible freaking version that can even like go with the 2400G whatsoever. So then I did it this way. I went please select value, and you type APU processor with graphics. So if my other way I'm going to show you doesn't work, I guess you can go this way. Desktop APU processor with graphics, Ryzen 5 processors with Radeon Vega, Windows 10 64-bit display results. And it gives you this weird-ass fucking page. Instead of like a normal page where it gives you a couple list of different versions and you click one and it downloads, it's got a whole bunch of random shit to read, talking about freaking RAID drivers and a bunch of other shit, and that the Radeon software for Ryzen desktop processors with Radeon Vega graphics installation package contains the following. Like, that's great. Which fucking package are we talking about? It's nowhere to be found, you know? It's like, it's this random thing that says AMD Radeon software, blah, 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 with Radeon Vega graphics. But this is not apparently like the best way to go about it, because this one was giving me a bunch of issues. So don't even go to AMD. Go to your motherboard manufacturer. As soon as you get this thing up and going, go to your motherboard manufacturer. Because you need to get the other drivers for your motherboard manufacturer installed and up and working apparently before you do graphics drivers. Apparently on Intel that's a very common thing. Everybody All the smart PC people in the world already know this, and us newbies are just dumb monkeys that didn't know. We didn't know, you know? How can you blame us? So go to your motherboard manufacturer, type in, search for whatever you got to do. X370, gaming, Pro. Find your motherboard. Search. Come on. I didn't even type in Gaming Pro, right? Gaming Pro, Carbon. Oh. Carbon AC, Gaming. See, it does this shit where it doesn't display my motherboard, but it displays all the other gay-ass motherboards out there. Pro Carbon. There we go. God. Download. Alright, so on your motherboard's website, you've hopefully already done the BIOS. If you got your Ryzen in here, you've already done the BIOS updates. I mean, if you got your Ryzen 5 2400G in here, you've already got your updates and everything for the motherboard. Drivers over here, select Windows 10 64. There's a couple different drivers on here, and you pretty much want to get almost all of them installed before you do the graphics driver. So system and chipset drivers. This one is the most important one. Now this one has the AMD SMS bus driver and the AMD graphics driver pretty much built into it. So when you go through here and install this, it pretty much just does the AMD graphics driver automatically, which again, I tried to do it this way and was still having some issues, but that could have been because I had my overclock pushed a little bit too far. I reset pretty much everything, started from scratch, dialed everything back all at once, and you know, it works perfect now for the most part. So there's a couple different things that it could be based on what I've read. So this could be one of them. When you download this thing, look, it's a big package. It's got a lot of random shit in there, and it's got a bunch of different drivers in there and stuff like that. Make sure you look through it. Try to download the chipset drivers. Whatever's in there, pretty much try to download all of them or install them and upgrade your drivers before you do the graphics portion of it. But if you just click the main setup in the first window you come to, it's pretty much just going to install a bunch of the different drivers all by itself, which may not be a bad thing. If it does them all at once and it does them in the right order, then it might be fine. I'm just telling you, I still had some issues when I did it the first time. But onboard drivers here as well too, PID SATA drivers, AMD RAID driver, you can download that. It's not as important if you're not doing RAID. Onboard audio drivers are somewhat important. You do want to download those and install those. The LAN drivers do apparently make a big difference as well too. The Intel network drivers, again, even though we're on an AMD platform, it's still Intel's network, you know, chips that are in there or whatever, because they got the best fucking ones. Yours might not be. Yours might not be an Intel network, but whatever it is, download it, install that motherfucker, because that thing can definitely make a difference. Other drivers that it shows me is ASMedia USB 3.0, pretty much fixed Oculus Rift camera hangs, blah blah. I didn't even install this one for the most part, even though I probably should, but I'm not really basing too much stuff on USB reliance right now, so it's not a big thrill for me, or it's not a big thing for me. But the LAN drivers matter, the audio drivers matter, the chipset drivers really matter, and then your graphics driver matters as well too. So definitely install all your drivers, get the graphics driver installed, and then restart everything, blah blah blah. That can fix a lot of issues. Now, if you've already, let's say you're already past this, and you've already downloaded a bunch of different drivers, and you downloaded the one from AMD, and you downloaded the wrong one from AMD, and all this kind of stuff. Let's see, I'm pretty sure I still have it on here. When you download that AMD chipset driver pack, the big one I was talking about, here's what I was saying. Let me see if I can full screen this so you can kind of see it a little bit better. Oh god, that view is awful. Hold on. View, large icons, view, extra large icons. Oh god, here we go. Now you can see. Okay, so setup is the main one you see. This is right when you open it. If you click this, it's pretty much going to install shit. It's going to go right in there and start. You hit yes, and you know, I accept from AMD, and it brings up. I'm pretty sure I can back out of this before it does anything and fucking double overwrites my fucking files and stuff like that. Why isn't it loading up? There it goes. Accept and install, blah blah blah. You go through those steps, and you pretty much, you know, make everything install. Now there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here too. So there's packages, images, config, bin64. Bin64, oh, see, it's not large icons anymore. That's not fun. Large icons. Can you kind of read those? Kind of. So in here is an AMD cleanup utility inside of the Bin64 folder. Again, here's another ATI setup, another install manager app, for another Radeon installer, another setup. Pretty much, there's like 16 different ways to install all this shit inside of all these different files and stuff like that. So that's why it's a little confusing, and I can't really recommend exactly what order to go in. But if you've already installed some and it's not working and you want to start fresh, this AMD cleanup utility will pretty much wipe every single AMD driver that you've installed and stuff like that right off this motherfucker. So that's the best thing that I found to start fresh. It will completely clean your files off. As well too, in here in packages, there's drivers. So inside of here, if you go to packages and then drivers, extra large icons, you have your display driver in here. God damn it, see, it's just not, I don't know why it keeps getting smaller. I'm not going to tinker with it. I'm too stupid. This would be your display drivers in here. Jesus, look at all this shit. Look at all this shit in here. Doesn't look like there's any one like setup inside of this one though, like there is in the other ones, except for maybe that guy. That's probably the one Windows installer right there. So that's for display drivers. And then there's audio drivers in here, which you can go through and you can just do the audio drivers this way. AMD PSP, which I believe is like the bus and stuff like that. You're definitely going to want to go in here and install these ones. One, it's either that Windows installer file. Yep, it's got to be the Windows installer file. And then there is SBDVP, which has a bunch of different random shit in here. It's got bolt-on, filter, GPIO legacy, PCIs, RAIDs, SM bus. There's a bunch of different shit. But I believe most of this stuff gets installed once you do the main one from the main screen, which is, you know, like the main setup. And here's the chipset one. Ooh, I don't know if I ever installed just that chipset by itself. I'm pretty sure it did all of them by itself. I guess I could always try to redo it, but I don't want to because everything is running perfectly fine for me right now. So inside of config, there is a chipset Windows installer file. That's probably going to be the #1 thing you want to start with right there. And if it installs everything else all at the same time, then great. It probably did it in the right order. But having your drivers installed, all the different drivers installed can make a big difference because I only had one, you know, and it was still causing crashes and shit like that. So get your drivers from your motherboard website first and foremost, install them. If your motherboard website doesn't come with the AMD drivers like MSI's did that I was just showing you, do what I did, you know, and actually search for the Ryzen 5 2400G on AMD's website specifically. Don't try to do the auto installer or whatever. Just fucking download exactly what it says that you need for that specific chip. That's the best way to go. So that is another way to go. So drivers are a big thing for video TDR failures. Voltages are a big thing for crashes, black screens, blue screens, video TDR failures as well. Now, let's say you screwed up when you installed Windows, or one of your Windows files got corrupt, or something like that. In Windows 10, down here, if you type in safe, it'll bring up change advanced startup options. Click in this bad boy, and it gives you right into the recovery tab, which obviously there's a bunch of other ways to get in here. But the recovery tab gives you reset this PC and start up from a device or disk such as USB, change your PC's firmware settings, change Windows startup settings, or restore Windows from a system image. This will restart your PC, blah, blah. So you can pretty much learn how to get a fresh, learn how to start fresh with a clean installation of Windows. Click that. It'll give you the info that you need. Trying to open Windows Defender security system. Yes. So in here is start with a fresh and clean and up-to-date installation of Windows. Start fresh by reinstalling and updating Windows. This will keep your personal files and some Windows settings and remove most of your apps, including Microsoft Office, third-party antivirus software, and desktop apps that came pre-installed on your device, including your drivers. So if you really screwed something up and you can't seem to figure out how to get it off or whatever, this is the way to pretty much completely start with a fresh install of Windows again, with pretty much only your files that you saved in like downloads and documents. That's going to be the only thing that carries through. All your apps will get wiped out, all your drivers will get wiped out, and everything else. So this will allow you to pretty much start over again if you screwed something up and you can't figure out how to get around it or to redo it. I've done it. I did it once already because I just got to the point where I wanted to start fresh because I couldn't figure out what order of what I screwed what up in. So I did this. I reset everything. I reinstalled Windows. I did the little Windows updates real quick, and then I went in and did my drivers immediately. So first thing I did was do my drivers, and then I went in, tinkered with my overclocking a little bit, dialed it back a little bit, and went in, did a Cinebench test. Everything seemed fine. Oh, another thing I was having a big problem was I wasn't getting any sound on StarCraft 2. StarCraft 2 would not give me any freaking sound whatsoever, no matter how I tinkered with it or tried to reinstall it or uninstall it or update my drivers and blah blah. It would not give me sound. So that's when I finally hit my limit, and I'm like, you know what? I'm reinstalling Windows, starting over. Let's freaking do this. So I reinstalled Windows, got that, like I said, did all that stuff, got my drivers downloaded immediately, updated all them, and downloaded StarCraft immediately, tested it, and I had sound. I was like, yes, perfect. So definitely updating the audio drivers and everything, from my motherboard's website was the way to go. And I believe I still even have them here in my downloads folder and everything. And so at my Intel, well, that's the Intel one, Realtek, Nahamik Audio. So here's my audio drivers or whatever. You just go in, you click the setup button, and bam, it installs all the audio drivers for you. And then same with the Intel, what's it called? The Intel LAN drivers, your LAN drivers. Auto run, you just click that, it starts up, installs all the LAN drivers, makes you restart your computer. That's just my MSI gaming app, Cinebench, and blah blah. And then here is pretty much, like the Radeon installer that I got from AMD's website, I believe. But I wasn't using that one. I was preferably using, like I said, the one with all the AMD chipset stuff from MSI's website. But other than that, those are most of the issues that I've came across so far and seen people having. Obviously, if you haven't watched my other videos and you just got a Ryzen 5 2400G or the Ryzen 3 2200G and you're trying to drop it into a fresh motherboard that has not been updated to its newest BIOS yet, or you didn't buy it with it saying specifically in the details that it's been updated to support Raven Ridge APUs, it's not going to work. You need to watch our other videos. That's the biggest thing. All the motherboards that have been made over the past year, 2 years, or however long, that Ryzen's been out. I think it's 1 year. They said Ryzen 7's been out. So all the motherboards that have been made for Ryzen over the past year will not, for the most part, be able to recognize the Ryzen 5 2400G right out of the box. You got to make sure you get one that is specifically made for it, or you can try and call up the person the manufacturer you're buying it from and ask them if they can update it, blah, blah, that kind of good stuff. But those are the biggest issues that I've came across so far. So, other than that, guys, I'm not sure what else I can tell you. See if there's any other specific problems people told me they were having. I mean, blue screens are really the biggest one everyone seems to be having across the board, and then inconsistent like frames as well too. Their frames jumping all over the place. A lot of people said that was fixed with the updating the LAN drivers, the Intel LAN drivers or whatever LAN driver is on your motherboard. Just random. But again, too, if you are having frames jumping all over the place, typing in a specific voltage instead of setting it to auto might correct that problem too. A couple people have fixed their frame jumps or their crashes, by typing in specific voltages instead of letting it do auto. And that could be, again, because these motherboards are very inconsistent with their voltages and stuff like that. Like its auto voltage might be thinking it's only giving it to 1.3, which is 1.3 is the maximum safe voltage recommended by my motherboard. And I got the X370, so it's one of the more expensive boards that should have the best power management, blah blah. And it's still saying 1.3 volts is absolute maximum that it recommends me to give to my CPU or my GFX cores, I should say, not the CPU, the GFX cores, without hurting it. Now that might also be, recommending under stock cooling, which I could possibly go above, since I have better cooling and everything like that. But I don't really want to test it that hard. I'm sitting at 1620. That's pretty freaking good to be stable at. Counter-Strike Here, I guess I can go and do a test for you guys real quick. Counter-Strike Go, I have it set at 1080p high on pretty much everything, so you guys can actually get a real-time. Oh, you know what? I can turn on Fraps too. I downloaded Fraps. See if I can do it without crashing everything. Just downloaded Fraps. Yes, let's turn on Fraps. Fraps. Oh, Fraps. Oh, Fraps, my craps. Alright, so Fraps is up in the top right. Can you kind of read it? Yep, sitting at 120, 19, 18 right now in this screen, but that doesn't mean anything. So let's just jump into a game real quick. We'll do Dust 2, of course. What other freaking level would you play? This is all my random crap. I haven't played all that much. My loadout's pretty pathetic, to be honest. But I do love that Shanta Coast Fire. I know it's old, but that's my baby. So we're still sitting at about 154 frames per second, but that will bounce up and down at this loading screen, obviously, because it's trying to load everything as fast as it possibly can. Loading screens don't matter. Alright, so we're good. So let's jump into the game. And, well, we gotta watch him for the moment. Let's see if we can get him into some action. He's sitting at 60, you know, 60-ish frames per second, 70, 80.
Alright, time to get Nazca.
Pretty stable in between 60 to 80 frames per second. And this is at, just to show you, options, video settings. That is 1080p, high, very high. Auto 8, multi-sampling, anti-aliasing at times 8. The only thing I don't have on is motion blur and vertical sync, which don't really need, man. I mean, this thing is butter smooth without having that stuff on. And again, sitting at 60 to 80 frames. Right now we're at 70, no problem. See if we can get some more action. Oh, there we go. There's somebody. Oh, God. I'm tweaking. He's tweaking.
Well, dude, I want my freaking SG back.
But yeah, jumping up to 90 here or there. This bad boy is butter smooth, guys. Oh, dummy. Oh, dummy. Oh, wow. Just mowing. Wow, that was pathetic. Oh, they should be ashamed of themselves. Alright, real quick. I'll jump into it. Let's grab the Bison. The Bison with the Anubis on it. Alright, I'm seriously playing on like 3 inches of mouse space. And I'm looking over from the left-hand side of the screen right now because you guys are getting the front angle view, so I gotta stay out of your way. So I'm gonna get molested. Look at this, 90 frames per second running through here. Let's try and shoot some bitches. Oh god, I got popped in the face immediately. He's just sitting there waiting for it. What a bitch. But yeah, staying at 60, 70, 80 frames all day. All day, all day. All day, all day. So that's just one. So there's Counter-Strike for you. 60 to 90 frames at 1080p high, no problem if you have aftermarket cooling. So let's exit out of here real quick. And let's go check out, what else do I got installed on here? I do have Star Wars The Old Republic installed on here. And I'm pretty sure I can load up right into, what's it called? The fleet or whatever it is, you know, where all the people are, and that's usually like the most frickin' laggy spot possible to go into because there's hundreds of people all in one little frickin' area. Installing? It didn't install all the way? What the fuck? That's strange. I could have sworn it installed all the way. Alright, well, I'm sorry guys, let's give it 1 second, just so it installs all the way so we're not getting, you know, mixed portions on what it's actually doing. So while this is installing, let me just go in. even while that's installing, I'll run Cinebench and just see what kind of score we can pop out in Cinebench while that thing's installing at the same time. We'll run OpenGL. And Fraps is going to display frames per second on this as well, too. So 50, 60, 70 frames per second. While something's installing in the background and using up the freaking processor. Even though this is really more based on the GFX, it's not really CPU heavy at all. So I don't think it has too much effect on it. But I know I've ran a 72 frames per second on this score, you know, before. Ooh, 60, that's bad. I know I've ran a freaking 72 frames per second on this, so maybe it does have a little bit more. And with Fraps running as well, that's taking up a little bit of juice possibly. Alright, so let's see how much more bad it can be. Let's run the CPU. Because I know this bad boy should be running in the high 800s. But there is something else running that might be, you know, taking up the CPU speed, trying to install that other game. So let's see how its multitasking performance does. Real performance going on. Installing and Cinebenching. And Frapsing. I am getting very hyped though. My RX 570 graphics card should be here Monday apparently. They already shipped it out. And it's on its way. It's in Tampa right now. So it should be here Monday. And I'm super stupid excited for that. I can't wait to try and mine some cryptocurrency with that bad boy on NiceHash, see what I can get. I know it's not going to be anything crazy, but Bitcoin is on its way back up, and I need to start grabbing pieces of it while I can before the difficulty goes, you know, on everything else starts going up too. But, yeah, this thing is definitely being impacted by that installing going on in the background, I can tell you that. But it's still running good, you know, for being really multitasking two different freaking applications. 558, oof, that is brutal. Alright, so that is trying to literally install a freaking game in the background that is apparently massive because it's taking forever while trying to run Cinebench. So, congratulations, I got the lowest score anyone's ever gotten on Cinebench. Woo, yeah. Alright, so after this thing's done installing, we'll rerun this just to show you that that's not what this thing is putting out. Because that would be garbage, eh? Eh? Don't you know? Let's close this. And let this thing actually install. Hopefully it speeds the hell up. I could have swore I downloaded the whole damn thing. I don't know why it's still doing this to me. Like finishing download, ready to play. How are you ready to play? You're gonna give me the cheap ass version where you can only access like the first starting planets and stuff like that? I don't think so. We can wait a second. My viewers got nothing better to do, right guys? Saturday night, all cuddled up with their gaming computers and nowhere to go. So while this is installing, I guess I can also, damn, that always sucks when you think that you have stuff left in your Red Bull can and you don't. But yeah, guys, if you have if you go through all these things that I've shown you and all that kind of good stuff. Now they also say too when you're uninstalling your drivers that you're supposed to go into like safe mode and uninstall them. But I kind of just like I said, use that AMD clean wipe installer and let it rape them right off and redo it, and it seemed to somewhat help at least, you know. But the clean version of Windows seemed to be the best option, just straight wiping everything all out at once. Really did work the best for me. Okay, this is taking way too long, and this is what pisses me off, is like I'm paying, like I know if I go do, like what's it called, speed test or whatever it is. Speed test says fast, but internet slow. I gotta run speed test right now. Oh, because it's using that other one. Wow. So usually it'll, yeah, I mean, it'll jump up into the 30s and 40s. Like, I'm paying for, like, 30 megabyte per second, whatever. So 24. I'm paying for 30, and it's using a bunch of it over here, too. It never, ever downloads anywhere near 30. Why does it never, ever download anywhere near what it's actually, what you fucking pay for? I don't understand. I've looked it up, and I've tried to see reasons why, and everyone seems to give, like, a bullshit reasoning on it based on, pretty much, crappy freaking wiring and your computer not being able to handle it, or your driver not being able to handle it, or your home router not being able, like, a bull fucking shit. At 30 megabytes per second is not that fucking much. I mean, Google Fiber's coming in at fucking, like, gig per second, nowadays on fiber. I can't get freaking over 15. That's some BS, man. That's some BS. But there's nothing you can really do. It's just kind of the way it is. But that's actually pretty good upload, getting 15. Usually it's less than that. So man, this thing is really taxing my fucking shit trying to install this game. And what doesn't make any sense is it should have been already installed. So that's pretty gay. Well, that was going to be like a cool, like, hey, let's show you this freaking load up real fast on this one. Fraps. We'll leave you on for a second. Let's go into Star Crazy. I'll load up StarCraft 2. And oh no, we can't find what we wanted to show you. Oh, well, fuck you then. I think that thing still might be installing in the background, even though I don't see it. And my camera doesn't do my display justice. If this doesn't look all that great, I'm sorry. It looks really good on my side, but I'm just recording from a phone. But let's go jump into something real quick. Something that's got some... that's really demanding is actually going to use up these fraps. So we're sitting at about 57, 58 frames per second right now. And again, I'm pretty sure these settings are on 1080p high as well too. Try and go Hero Line Wars. Options. Go to graphics. So we're at 1080p high. Default. High. Oh god. Oh god. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Jesus. Can never get this thing to freaking stay. So yeah, everything is set to pretty much high. High. 1080p high for everything. Of course the game is no longer available. See, I just reinstalled this. I don't have any of these games downloaded, so I pretty much have to like download one every time I want to join one. Unless I can find the same one real quick. Zergling Clicker. Ooh, Squadron TV. That was always a good one that used to lag the shit out of my system. Pretty sure the game's already been played, but at least downloading gives me a chance at getting it the next time. Desert Strike. But yeah, I'm sitting at 57 frames per second even in the lobby, so I guess that might not be a great start now that I'm kind of looking at it. Ooh, Line Tower War is usually a lot of shit going on in this one. Oh, we might even be able to get in the lobby. Oh, maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe the lobby isn't going to start for a while because no one's joining this one. Ooh, dropping down to 40 frames per second. So dang, as you can see, StarCraft. I'm hoping everything's stable. This is the first time I'm testing StarCraft after reinstalling all these drivers and redoing Windows. I did it all last night at like 3 in the morning and then just went to bed because I couldn't stay awake anymore. So you guys might see my instability crash coming up right here, because StarCraft is definitely putting this thing through its paces, you know, at 44 frames per second already. I'm kind of worried to see what it does once we're in there. Oh, they're starting. Oh, they're starting one way or another. Oh, God, hold on. Sorry. Okay, come to daddy. Come to daddy. Okay. Alright, guys, let's see what kind of frames we get out of this. 1080p, everything set to high on a much newer game compared to freaking StarCraft. I mean, compared to Counter-Strike. And a much more 3D demanding game as well, too. Seeing at 10 frames per second. My loading screens don't count. You know, you can't count a loading screen that's frames per second. It's pressing hard dead. Oh, God. It wants me to vote on stuff and stuff. Let's vote on medium, difficulty, air, off, bounty. I don't know what that is. Sudden death, I don't care. I don't know what quick start is. Players will be given 100 minerals. Okay. Time to vote. I don't know. Let's pick all these. So we're sitting at 118 frames per second at the moment. Holy shit. Why do we have to wait 23 seconds? Okay, it was me. I was the reason. Ooh, look at how good that looks. I mean, you can't really see, I guess, but it looks nice, man. It's good quality. I'm failing. I'm failing hard, guys. What is this? Basic shooter towers. Gotta build in the zigzaggy. The ziggy-zaggy. Oh, and I'm fucking it up too. I should be building like a Zergling thing. The melee tower at the end of this thing to kind of clobber the fuck out of them. But it's X for that one. And you gotta try and like upgrade the motherfucker. Right? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, and I forgot I should be sending shit too. That's my own fault. Should have done that right from the beginning. I haven't played this in a long fucking time, but we're sitting at 104, 105 frames per second. Solid. Solid. At 1080p high on everything. Sitting at over 100 frames per second, no problem. I mean, obviously there's not a lot going on right this exact second. But let's see what happens once we all start sending a whole bunch of shit real quick, you know, because we're just building up income at the moment. And we'll see. So even when I'm killing shit, still sitting at high 99. Ooh, somebody's getting salty already. Super salty. Not at me, but somebody else getting salty. Sour like a little lemon. He's just a little sour like a little lemon. I see, and he went all mealy. Should I build a row of mealy? Is that like a hint for me to build a whole fucking row of mealy? Because I will. I'll just do it. I'll just do it. Let's do a whole row of mealy. Oh, what you gonna do now? What you gonna do now? Oh, it's a whole roll of fucking mealy. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna... Oh, shit, that one's tough. Ooh, ooh, he's sitting his best. Ooh, gotcha, bitch. Yeah, yeah. Alright, let's send some more stuff. Send some probes. What is that thing? Woo! Gave me 25 for it. I don't give a shit. Oh, what is it? Oh, God. Crushing it. Sitting at 89 frames per second. Let's go watch some action. Still sitting at 70s, 70s, 60s, 70s, 60s. Not bad. Solid, exact, you know, 60. Ooh, 55 there. Ooh, let's get two people shooting. Still sitting at 59, 60. So it's pretty much, you know, sitting at 60 frames a second. even with all the shit dying and all the people shooting and all that kind of good stuff. Let's get some more shit going on, shall we? Summon a whole bunch of shit on my opponent next to me. We'll see how he does. So the probes are faster than the cows. So I need to summon a bunch of cows and then the probes. Cows ain't going nowhere on him, but that's okay. Oh, I got defeated. I wasn't even paying attention. How did I lose? Oh, damn it. I wasn't watching. I can barely see from this freaking angle. Alright, guys. Well, we lost. But, yeah, I mean, sitting between 60 to 110 frames per second. Freaking pretty solid. It might dip down below that once shit starts getting a little crazy. But, yeah, man, it does good. It really does. But I do, like I said, have, you know, a decent little water cooler on here. So I do have my shit cranked up about as high as I could get it without having these TDR failures over and over again. But yeah, guys, drop me a comment, you know, if you have any questions, if you can't get yours working, if, you know, you're not sure on exactly anything I went over, and I will do my best to try and help you. I know this thing is frustrating. I was sure that I had everything working perfect, you know, and as soon as I actually went to go try and play some real games, it was just nothing but pure frustration trying to figure out why it wasn't working. So, please give me a like if you like the comment, if I helped you out or anything like that. Subscribe. I'm going to have more videos coming up, you know, if I can counter some more problems, go over some more stuff. I'll try and make another video too if anybody has any other issues. I'm going to download some more games and stuff like that. I got to get another hard drive, because I only went with a 240 gig just to get started, because I knew that'd be enough to, you know, download at least all the basics and a couple games on just to, you know, get started going. But I definitely need to get another hard drive. And true as well for, I'm not sure if anybody else is getting, you know, MSI or going RGB and stuff like that, but I had one hell of a time trying to, because I don't have a disk drive on this, and apparently like the MSI lighting app or whatever it is comes on the disk drive that comes in the motherboard. I don't have any way to install it in here, and I had a real bitch of a time trying to find it online, because they all seem to be like rerouting me to fucking apps, you know, for like cell phones and tablets and that kind of shit, and I can't download it on here. It doesn't work the same, it won't let me download it. So that's a pain in the ass. But I downloaded the MSI gaming app, and that at least gave me some basic controls, you know, over like my lights and that kind of stuff. And then as well I had to download, unfortunately, the G-Skill RAM sticks are not compatible with the stupid MSI gaming app, so it can't talk to it and put them all in sync together. So I have my G-Skill Trident Z app controlling the sticks doing one thing, and then the MSI gaming app controlling like the pump and the fan and all the other shit on the motherboard, you know, doing another thing. But what can you frickin' do? It still looks pretty. It is pretty sweet because I can set them both into like music mode, you know, to where they'll kind of like sit still and not do much until I play music, and then when the bass hits and shit, it bounces, you know, and blinks to the music in all different colors and shit. It's pretty freaking sick. But more of that to come. I'll cover, you know, as much as I can of all the different random things, you know, that are causing issues. I wish I could just download one app that would cover everything. If you know if that, like that ASUS, what do they call that thing? The ASUS app that controls lighting and all that kind of stuff. If you know if that would work anyways with my motherboard and my RAM sticks together and kind of control all of it, let me know in the comments, please. I don't want to download it and try and tinker with it if it's just going to be a waste of time. But thanks for your time, everybody. Hopefully I'll talk to you guys soon, and good luck.